Shazia.
Hello, Robert. How are you?
Very good indeed. So, first of all, just remind people what you do.
I'm a designer with my own boutique in North London, and I specialize in ethical and sustainable fashion.
Excellent. And should we, do you think, be clearing out our wardrobes occasionally and, getting rid of stuff that we no longer want, or just reminding ourselves what's in there? Because sometimes you just forget, don't you?
Yeah, it's a job that is quite neglected, but you can stick the music, stick the radio on, and just keep that in the background. But it is a task that does need to be sort of looked at because in the UK, for example, it's estimated about 30 billion pounds worth of clothing is unused in people's wardrobes. That some that still have even the tag on and that we forget about once we've bought it. So that kind of wardrobe clear out can be really good. And it's good. What I advise is really to sort of make two piles of cringe and keep. So
Cringe and keep. So, what? So, you look at everything and you think, right, that's a keeper. Ooh, why did I ever buy that? Cringe.
yes, yeah, the cringe would be more, if everyone's got their favorite t-shirts and sweatshirts, but sometimes they've just reached that point where the holes no longer look like you could have bought it from a Central St. Martin's student or something. They are just like way past it. And, so put that into the cringe pile if they're off color and, they really they don't show up well on you and make you feel good and things, and there's nothing wrong with that. It can be quite daunting to let go of a favorite sweatshirt, but sometimes it's just time to
Do you
say
know,
goodbye.
I did just this. I did exactly this process earlier this week, on Tuesday or Wednesday last week, or this week. And I ended up with, two carrier bags for the charity shop. And I was looking through it, and it wasn't, I mean, some of the things were a bit worn out. I have to admit, there is always that terrible, terrible fear when you go into your main wardrobe, particularly the things that you haven't worn for a long time. And especially this year when we've had nowhere to go. So there's a lot of clothes
Yes.
that haven't been worn for a long time. I'm always terrified in case the moth has been in there. And occasionally they have, I'm afraid. So that's always makes me very fearful.
Yeah.
But
Bugs like moths they're a nightmare, aren't they?
yeah, they absolutely are. And every now and then I get things that, like expensive pieces, because I keep clothes for a very long time. I'm not someone who goes in for instant fashion. I buy very little clothing. I tend to buy quite expensive things because I'm buying very little. And that, the thought of pulling out that suit or that pair of woolen trousers that I haven't worn for the last couple of years and finding that they're riddled with moth is just terrifying.
Yeah, the main thing that it seems that there are very little remedies for moths, apart from if you're putting your clothing into storage, then to dry clean or
Yeah.
wash them beforehand, and maybe sort of vacuum seal them. But moths are a little nightmare, and they love nestling in places with that have body oils on
Yeah.
it, or and of course if you're wearing clothing, then you do sort of accumulate that. And they're a bit of a nightmare, especially they love the expensive stuff, don't
Well,
they?
they love
Yeah.
cashmere and they love,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly, all of that stuff. But what you're supposed to do, I was told by people who do this professionally, who look after clothes, professionally, what you're meant, because what moths don't like is fresh air and sunlight. So
Yes.
you're not meant to leave clothes in wardrobes all over winter. Do you see what I mean? You're meant to bring them out regularly and air them and put them in the light.
Yeah.
And
Especially, and don't bunch them up and just because you're not using them, and just shove them to the back, and yeah, that's it.
and
They
forget
do need
about them.
oxygen. Exactly.
Absolutely. So I think really we should be going for our wardrobes on quite a regular basis and bringing things out.
Yeah, but I think because it's still so, I was out in a beer garden last night and I was hugging both of my jumpers and my jacket and everything. So because it's still
It's still
actually really
chilly.
chilly. It
It
is
is.
unusually so, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
So
is.
so packing away the winter wardrobe could maybe wait for another couple of weeks. So but it does help identify clothing. When you were doing your clear out, Robert, did you find stuff that you hadn't worn in a while as
Oh
well? And
yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I did both. I found some things and thought, oh, I'll wear that. I hadn't seen that for ages. Although I have to say, most of it was kind of summer stuff that we haven't quite. You're right. It's not quite warm enough yet for those short sleeve tops and the like. But I did go through, and I was a bit more because I'm trying to downsize in everything, right?
Yeah.
I was a bit more brutal than usual. I got rid of things that normally I would have kept, and some of them are things that I have kept for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've gone through this process and thought, oh no, I'll definitely wear that again. And this time I finally gave in and thought, no, I haven't worn it for the last 3 or 4 years. It's got to go.
Yeah, I think it's that lockdown mood maybe. Now that you've been sort of sitting around you know, at home and around your wardrobe for a bit longer, and then you just think, actually, no, that's it. Everything has to go, and we have to make some space and things. Well, I would want to advise with people who are if you've got like a cringe pile and you want to get rid of it, then to consider contacting. I know that there's the usual charity shops and recycling centres and textile recycling, but also animal shelters sometimes want clothing and like old towels and things, for the animals that they're looking after. So it's another option because, unfortunately, we Brits, we spend so much on clothing and get rid of so much that actually a lot of the clothing still goes to landfill. Even charity shops are a bit overwhelmed.
Wow.
So, it is good to kind of ask your friends if they want first dibs on whatever you're getting rid of. And yeah, just to kind of think a bit outside of the box of,
What do you feel
animal shelters.
about kind of eBaying and other websites are available clothing if it's in good condition and maybe you spent quite a lot of money on it a couple of years ago, but you're probably not going to wear it again, or you've put on a bit of weight and it no longer fits, or whatever it might be. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, they're fantastic, and they're fantastic. That you just need to. Everyone's quite good at snapping photos on their phones now and things. And I would say just to if you're going to do that, then just again photograph it in, put it on a hanger, put it near natural daylight, or take the photo outside in your garden if you've got one. So it just captures the best of the garment because websites like that, there are so many. There are so many styles on there that actually you want yours to stand out if you want to make it worth your effort.
There's also, if you've got high-end stuff, you've got real designer clothing and that, there are also very specialist websites for that, aren't there?
Yes, yeah, and so not just for resale, you can put your clothing up for rental as well.
Really?
So yeah,
Someone wants to rent my trousers.
If they're glam enough, and if they want a bit of Robert on them, they want your stardust to rub off.
Well, I could make a fortune here, I suspect.
That's it.
I mean, but you do have to be. I mean, I think you have to be kind of conscious of the fact that if you are going to be selling stuff on eBay, you've got to be honest about the condition. The condition has to be good, and you can't just think, oh, no one will notice that little moth hole or that stain that I can't get out or whatever.
Exactly. Honesty is key because you don't want negative reviews and to
And
get
you don't
into
want
a bit of a
things coming
dispute.
backwards and forwards, and you're paying for postage
Exactly.
and all of that.
I know going to the post office is a nightmare enough. You don't want to have to do that twice.
No.
And.
In terms of, I mean, particularly as you get older, I guess you do just accrue clothes, don't you? Because you've got things. How much we don't really have in the old days. It used to be there were strict fashions. So this year, skirts were all short, or skirts were all long, or shoulders were wide, or lapels were narrow.
Yes.
Or, do you know what I mean? We don't seem to have that anymore. But do you think things still go out of fashion?
I think when clothing goes out of fashion as such, it's only because they just look so severe, and they're good for fancy dress parties, but they just look a bit too 70s. I mean, often fashion now is inspired by vintage and but they will have like an updated look, so your flared jeans won't quite look like that 70s bell bottom. They'll just be like a bit more of a contemporary version or something. But I think that it's with social media and with things like Instagram, and everything is always in fashion. You will always it sort of helps reduce purchasing as well, actually, because everything is always in fashion. You will always find your sort of fashion, your fashion tribe as such on the internet, on Instagram, so there's a lot less insecurity, I think. But that sort of severity with like you were saying, shoulder pads are in, and things like that's magazines and designers don't hold that kind of power anymore, I don't think.
Except though it's strange because while I was going through this process the other day, I mean, I've got quite a lot of suits because I like wearing suits, and these are not business suits. These are suits because I really like them, and I've sort of collected them over the years. And I tried on a couple of jackets the other day from suits that I bought sort of 15, 20 years ago. And although they're still great. I mean, I'm talking sort of Savile Row suits here.
Yes.
The shoulders are just a little bit bigger than they would be now. The lapels are just a little bit wider. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I could wear that. It's beautiful, but it just somehow looks a bit old fashioned. And I couldn't even quite work out why, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And, maybe you want to take less space now, your big power shoulders, you feel like you've made it. You don't need to show it through your clothing now.
In terms of, how's your shop doing? Have you reopened?
Yes, we reopened on the 12th of April, and it's interesting that things have changed somewhat. I do feel that it's a lot busier at weekends, whereas before all the pandemic and the continued lockdowns, customers would come throughout the week as well, but that's reduced a little bit, and now I get a bigger concentration at weekends. But a lot of people have put on, I don't know anyone who hasn't put on weight from 3 lockdowns, like that accumulation. And and it can be just good to come and talk to a small boutique and just kind of like talk through your sort of concerns, and how to sort of how to deal with, oh, you've changed job, you've your body's changed a little bit, and especially with me, like I try to make, it's a fashion boutique and they are quite intimidating for a lot of people, but I try to make it as sort of welcoming and non-judgmental as, because it's not about saying that a woman is small or large or extra large. Those kind of labels are not really they're not really productive. So I try not to sort of go down that road.
It's interesting while we're talking about sustainability, which I know is very important to you, because on the one hand, we're encouraging people to maybe clear out their wardrobes, get rid of some things, although, give them a charity or use them sensibly. But on the other hand, should we be encouraging people to keep, not to buy too many clothes, to wear the clothes again that perhaps they've sort of consigned, to the past, if you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah. So it is about reducing consumption overall. That is very true. But at the same time, that it's unrealistic to say that nobody ever needs to buy new clothing ever again.
Yeah.
And, we've all got everything that we need or want. And so in terms of sustainability, like I always say that, if you've done your clear out and you thought, okay, I have got everything I need, but there are a few things that are still missing, or I just want to go out and have some fun. I mean, there's nothing, sustainability is really important to me, but I don't judge at all, do what makes you feel good. But just consider that any new purchases that you make, stick to natural fibers, natural fabrics like silk, cotton, rayon, viscose, linen. These are fabrics that are good for your skin and they're good for the environment. And eventually, their life cycle, once they are worn out and you no longer need them, they'll biodegrade and they won't shed, unlike polyester and other fossil fuel based fabrics, that they won't shed plastics and pollutants into the waterway through your washing machine. So these are small individual choices, but I mean, if enough of us make that change, then it is about accumulatively, it does make a huge difference. And so it's just about identifying if you need or don't need anything, but then, look to smaller independent brands, look for natural fabrics, and you won't go wrong if you stick with natural fabrics.
And also, I guess we all have to be aware that if something is very cheap, that means the people who made it weren't being paid very much at all, and that all along the line, it's been cheaply done and cheaply made, and quite possibly, kind of, the people producing it and working on it haven't been paid properly. And I think we all have to be conscious of those issues.
Exactly. And it's really important, but at again, if you're on a lower income, I people buy what they can afford.
Of
But
course.
if you are more affluent, then I think that people who are a bit more comfortably well off should take the lead, or to sort of participate in that kind of change to sustainable fashion a bit faster, because it does matter, and companies do take notice. I mean, a company like mine is tiny, but like the more people consider these issues and vocalize, the more larger companies would have to change their habits and their ways as well. But they're actually rewarded. They're rewarded with publicity because they have great financial results. But at the end of those hundreds of millions of lauded financial results are people who suffer, and they're invisible because they're not in Britain. They offshore that misery. But fashion is, I love fashion. It's such a source of joy, and we humans, we do judge based on how people look. It's not the way it should be, but we do that, so it's not that we can disregard fashion altogether as well. It's also, it's often described as sort of like a fluffy, pastime, but actually
Oh, I
I
don't
think
think
that
that for a moment. I think what you wear is your interface with other people. I think, and
absolutely.
we all do judge books by their cover because because they're designed to give you clues as to what's inside.
Yeah, and fashion is a really powerful non-verbal communication. So
Absolutely.
by wearing fast fashion, exploitative fast fashion, you're saying, I don't care. That's what your clothing is saying. And if you've made a more considered choice, then you're saying, well, actually, yeah, I do care. And it's very personal.
Where can people find your shop or your website or whatever, Shazia?
Yeah, my website is poplondon.co.uk, and the shop is in Wood Green. And yeah, we're always happy to talk to anyone as well, about ethical and sustainable concerns that
Uh,
they may have.
and I'm sure you're open now.
It is open now, yes.
Excellent. Have a good day.
Thank you.